Oh, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dogs and cats, elephants and zebras, gypsies and the sheep. Oh, man. John, where are you, by the way? Well, I don't know where he is. By the way, I'm now using a cane inside the house and around the house, not just when we go somewhere. For the longest time, I was only using a cane when we were out and about, but after the other night, I use it all the time. I wish he would come out here so you could see him, but those who actually watch my videos have probably seen John. And if he hears his name, he might come running, because there he is right there. Anyway, so I went to look for something in the car. In Spain we said auto, A-U-T-O, auto, but over here they pronounce it auto. But anyway, so I had him with me, and well, I put him down in the car and he got into the back, and then he got out of the car and I don't know where he went. And I went and I looked in the car again. Wasn't there. I walked around the building. He wasn't there. Walked around the building probably a couple times. Walked over here, walked over there. Just kind of hung out there. Just called his name. Nothing. And then maybe a couple of hours later, I go to roll the window up and lock the doors. Where do you think John is? He's in the back window of the car, and he just comes right out to me and wants me to pick him up. Then I pick him up and carry him inside. Who knows what he was doing? Who knows where he went? He probably hunted something, because he doesn't enjoy that. He really enjoys hunting. There is a reason one of his nicknames is John the Mighty Hunter. So, just a note, my pain isn't so bad right now. I mean, I hurt. There is some pain. It's like in the middle of my back, but I guess the medicine does help, at least to some degree. I wasn't expecting that, but the thing is, I do not like these kinds of medications. I do not like being on these kinds of medications. I don't need to become addicted to anything. So the thing is, if it helps, it helps, and I have surgery coming up, not too long now. I'm both looking forward to it and not looking forward to it. I'm going to be laid up a while. So now, if anybody says to us, because my wife in the living room, and Kat, thank you very much for your kind words. We both appreciate that. I haven't told her what you said yet, but thank you. We both have health problems, and if anybody asks, well, why can't you do this or do that, how are we supposed to do these things? Calm down, Seamus, calm down. I'm surprised I can do as much as I can, or as much as I do. Well, if I do it, then I can do it. I mean, so I'm back to the whole prison pen pal thing. But this time I've put down some rules, some guidelines for myself. No death row, no lifers. Preferably people with no more than roughly 2 years. I tell them up front I'm not looking for a relationship. A relationship insofar as being friends, maybe. But I have a wife. I'm not looking for a romantic type of relationship. And that they get that up front. Correspond with both men and women. The only problem is some of the men are really, really nasty. I'm surprised at some of the things these men get away with posting. Because one or two websites, they make it clear that there are certain topics that are not. It's not that they're not to be discussed, but you're. Some of these men basically come off like they're living or want to live in some sort of world of pornography. And if that's going to be your attitude, if that's your philosophy, then I'm not going to write to you. Now, I have found maybe a couple of women like that, and I'm like, I'm not going to write to you because I don't like that. But why are so many men freaking acting that way? I mean, I don't get it, but it's insane. So I haven't found a guy that I feel comfortable writing to yet. And I've only written to a couple of women. And one in particular because, you find both men and women where they'll say, well, I made a few mistakes in my life or something like that. But I found one who was more, to me, she's being more honest. And what she is saying is, when I was, she said she's glad she's inside because she's had the opportunity to get clean. She has found hobbies. She has returned to hobbies that she used to enjoy, and she's found that she enjoys them again. She's glad she's clean. She's learned some skills how to stay that way, but she fears when she gets out she may go back to be around the same kinds of people, and she doesn't want to do that. And so I'm trying to be encouraging to her. The thing is, it'd be nice to find a guy that has the same attitude, and so far I haven't found it. I'm sure they're out there. They have to be out there, but there are far more men in prison than there are women, so I have to go through way, way more men's profiles than I do women's profiles. And I tell you, and then I come across certain profiles. I'm not writing to murderers. You have murder, manslaughter, manufacturing of drugs, things like that. No, I will not write you. I don't care if you're a man. I don't care if you're a woman. I don't care how old you are. I don't care where you live. I just don't feel comfortable with that. Now, I'm no longer on Facebook, so I'm not able to talk to people in these groups, these prison pen pal groups. I actually started writing to this one guy in North Carolina on the road, and I feel bad that I only wrote him one letter, but I'm like, after Texas murdered John, I'm just like, You know, and this is what I found out about John's case. The people that went into that building all had masks on, but somehow somebody supposedly identified him. How can you identify somebody when you can't see their face? I don't get that. Now, I don't know everything about that case, but regardless, I don't support the death penalty. Stick somebody in prison for the rest of their lives and see how much they like that. A lot of lifers, they do things to die. There was one in Tennessee, I think it was. Tennessee or Kentucky? I think it may have been Kentucky. He was a lifer. And I saw on a TV show, and he said he couldn't do it. He could not do the time. So he murdered a guard. The interviewer asked him, "Oh, was this guard particularly mean or anything like that?" He said, "No, he was actually one of the nicest guys around." "Well, why'd you kill him?" "I killed him so I could get the death penalty." Well, see, I think a guy like that, with all honesty, doesn't need to be on death row. He shouldn't have murdered the guy, but a guy who you know, you can be so big, bad, and tough. You can go out there on the streets and be so big, bad, and tough, but you go inside, and all of a sudden it's a different world, isn't it? And it's like, oh no. Well, to me, being stuck in prison for the rest of your life, having to suffer like that, that's punishment. You kill somebody, they're gone, they don't suffer anymore. They're not being punished anymore. They're gone, they're dead. But you stick somebody in prison for 20, 50, 60 years, that ain't no life. It's sure not any life I'd want. It's just not life. And then, of course, we get into the issue of forgiveness, possibility of redemption, refusing to live with the anger and the hatred and the resentment and toward the perpetrator. And like in my case, you know, from my past, I'm not going to lie and say I never get upset about things that happen. There are times I do get upset about it. I do not remember my dreams, but both my late wife and my current wife have told me that I have nightmares, but I don't remember them. And so I have no idea what I'm having nightmares about. It would be nice to find out. I think it would be nice to find out so I could deal with those problems, with those issues. But, you know, no. Anyway, so my chest is not comfortable. I'm not going to show it to you, but when I was in the hospital the other night, some of my chest hairs are kind of light colored. I think they are anyway. I can't really tell. But to put the EKG stickies on my chest, they had to shave my chest because they had to do it fast. They didn't have time to play around, so they went ahead and shaved it, but not the whole chest, but just where they put the stickies. And amazingly, I think they got them all off of me. Well, they didn't. Lisa and myself, mostly Lisa, got them off of me. Hospital didn't care. They'll send you home with them. Usually I wind up going home. I spend the next week finding them on my body. But I think they're all off now. So I have the surgery coming up, and Do I have concerns about it? Yeah, I definitely have concerns. They say a less than 1% chance of any sort of serious complication, but they're going to be going in the front of my neck. I don't know which side, or if they're going to go through both sides, or if you're going to have to explore. I don't know. One thing I have not asked is for them to record it or to photograph it, but that would be neat. It would be neat to see the procedure done on me, not during the procedure, of course, but after the fact. I had another medical procedure the last 2 or 3 years, and I was still on Facebook at the time, and there was one guy who said, "Yeah, I watched the whole thing on the monitor." I'm like, no. They put me under for that one, thankfully. I wouldn't do that procedure without them putting me under, but in this procedure, they're going to have to put me under. I want to play a little game with for those who know me, I like to play. I like humor. And long time ago. Now there's a movie or something coming out now called Coma. Well, I don't know anything about it. In the 70s, we had a movie called Coma. It was the guy who played Magnum P.I. back in the 80s. That was his first acting gig in a movie. I think it's uncredited. I don't remember. You see him twice. Once he's alive. They're doing like a medical interview. And the next time you see him, he's opened up, and you see his face, but he's dead. Either he's dead or he's still alive, but they're removing his organs or something like that. Tom Selleck, that's his name. It was Tom Selleck's very first movie. I believe uncredited. Oh, look what I got. I got my nitro. I need to carry I need to put it in with my dog tags. I carry it with my dog tags, that way if there's a problem, I always have it with me. There are people that need to be contacted. Some people before, some people after, some people both before and after the surgery. And still waiting to hear from the hospital as to what time I'm supposed to be there. The night before, I'm supposed to shower with a special soap, and that morning I'm supposed to shower with that special soap. I guess it's like I don't know what to call it anyway. Sometimes when I go to bed, it's a little difficult to go to sleep because the anxiety around the surgery, and start thinking about it. Thankfully, one of my medicines knocks me out. Without it, I wouldn't sleep anyway. But, I'm trying to find distractions. I guess that's the reason I'm doing the prison pen pal thing again. Helps keep my mind off of what I'm having to deal with. My brother-in-law died of a stroke. And that's a possibility with this surgery. Tommy, you're a great guy, man. I miss you. Sorry I didn't know you better than I did. I didn't know what to say to you, man. I just... We're gonna put like a bag together with some clothes and things to take with us. I'm probably gonna throw in a couple of books, but if I can't see anything, I can't read the book, so I don't know if I'm gonna do that or not. The reading glasses only help so much, and I don't have my prescription specs, so what? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Something I wanted to add to a previous video, a recent video, on disassociation and PTSD and child abuse. I think what my reading at the time, the reason I read so much and got so deeply into it is because it was an escape. I was living inside the books. I was living inside the stories. It's like I was there. I was. It wasn't me reading. It was me watching all this stuff actually happening. I was there. I was participating. And I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, but let me tell you, that was a hell of a lot better than having to think about what I was dealing with in life at that time. Music also did it, because I could escape through music. I could imagine being in the mountains, being in the forest, being on a river, being on the ocean. I love schooners, by the way. And, I'd love to sail schooner around the world, or as a part of a crew, but that'll probably never happen. I don't know, hon. Let me finish making this. Oh yeah, we have sausage. What? Now? Oh. Huh? For like biscuits and gravy? Yeah, okay. I should not have bent over like I just did, or twisted like I just did. That hurt like hell. I had a conversation with my cousin the other night. I love my family to death. I just wish I could spend more time with them, and right now is a time when I start really thinking about that. For those who don't know, my native language is Spanish, and I think this is American Spanish. I don't know if you can see that. I don't even know how long I've had this. Quite a long time now. And like I said, I think this is American Spanish, which I have a thing about. I don't really like American Spanish. To me, I won't get into that. I wish I could find something on Continental Spanish, particularly any dialect from Andalusia, specifically Cadiz. Okay, who's doing what now? Okay, they're getting behind the computer and messing with wires. But because if I knew, let's say, I knew this was Andalusian Spanish, I would be on this like white on rice. I would be, I'd be speaking Spanish again, and I bet a lot of it would come back to me. Use it or lose it. I took 4 semesters of ASL. I still know my ABCs, but then I learned my ABCs, the manual alphabet, when I was like 8 years old. I had 4 semesters of it in college. Well, 3.5, because I dropped the 4th semester, but I started the semester, but I didn't finish it. But like they say, use it or lose it, and I lost it. But again, if I started doing it again, it would probably start coming back to me, because I was good at it. I was good at it. I was making A's and B's in that class. And this is in college. I did not make grades like that in college. I was lucky to make grades like that. But I made good grades in American Sign Language 1, 2, 3, and 4. Well, not 4, but 1, 2, and 3. And I used to be able to fingerspell really fast, but my spelling is so atrocious that I'm surprised anybody can read what I'm saying. But I'd really like the 2 languages that I really want to learn. Well, 1 language I want to learn, 1 language I want to relearn. I want to relearn Espanol. But I want Continental Spanish. I want Spanish from my homeland. I want Spanish from my hometown. The other language I want to learn is Irish. And for those who don't know, it's not referred to as Gaelic. It's referred to as Irish. And there are multiple forms of Gaelic. There's Irish. There's Scots Gaelic. There's Welsh. What is it? Britain, I think. And we Celts. And don't get me. I don't want this to be misunderstood. We were pushed out of our homelands. But see, this is true about just about any and every culture. And culture is constantly in flux. So people talk about immigration. Immigration happens, and see, immigration to me can be viewed as a voluntary movement of people to another area. And I'm sure the Celts did that. But then there were times the Celts were pushed out of where they lived by other people, and those people at one point or another had been pushed from their lands, and eventually were pushed from the lands they took from, say, us. So, every culture, every land, every people has dealt with it. And I think that's just a natural way of life, like it or dislike it. In Japan, for example, you don't have a single monolithic culture. You have a group, and I don't remember what they're called, how they're referred to, but there's a group of people that, as one of my cousins told me, think of them as First Nations, or people would say American Indian. I would say First Nations. They were, I don't know if you'd say pre-Japanese or not, because I don't understand, Japanese history. I'm not going to pretend to understand it. So I'm not going to try and comment on something I don't know. But see, I lived on Okinawa. I was raised on Okinawa. I spent 5 wonderful years there. But see, Okinawa, that's Ryukyu culture. That's not Japanese, but there were probably people there before the Ryukyu people arrived, or before the Ryukyu culture developed. I don't know. I'm just saying I think there probably were people there. In Spain, the Celtic peoples were pushed into Spain and then eventually pushed out of Spain. And, France is the same way. The Celtic peoples were pushed into France and then into Spain. I've read in a couple of places where the Basque, genetically speaking, are supposedly closely related to the modern Irish. Now, I don't know what other research has been done, but that's interesting, especially considering that the way I was brought up, the Basque were not looked upon very kindly. They were viewed as terrorists. They used to blow up things in Sevilla. So, that was my image of them. That was what I knew about them. I was too young to really have known anything at the time. Because I was maybe a year and a half when we left Spain. But, once we left, my parents still spoke Spanish to me. And eventually it was German and English and Serbo-Croatian and eventually English and only English. And it was English. In Virginia it was English and Spanish and German. And then Okinawa it was English mostly. And through friends and neighbors I picked up some Japanese. Okay, hon, I'll be there in not too long. So I picked up some Japanese and probably some Ryukyu or Okinawan. I have no idea, but I remember everybody was Papa-san, Mama-san, Baby-san, Konnichiwa, Sayonara. I remember some things because I spoke it for 5 years, and I was watching a documentary on the history of the loo, and they were talking about the traditional Japanese toilet, or loo, and they were talking about a squat toilet. I'm like, I remember those. They were all over the place on Okinawa, everywhere. And I had a friend who's, or several friends, they were brothers and sisters. Their mom was Japanese. I don't know if she was Japanese or she was Okinawan. They sat on their toilet seat backwards. Yes, they sat backward on their toilet seat. I don't know why, but that's how they did it, and that's how they expected me to do it. And I'm like, why? I said, because that's how we do it here. Okay. They lived like 2 or 3 houses down from us. So we lived on Cleveland Street. And no, Cleveland Brown did not live on Cleveland Street. So I don't know why I'm making this video. I'm just making this video. And baby girl, I have not gotten that cookbook out yet. I won't be able to send it to you till next month anyway. It was Mom's, so I hope you like it. It's big, it's thick, it's heavy. So it's probably going to cost a little. Well, book rate is cheaper, so I'm just going to have to make sure I wrap it up really, really good. But if I sent it just regular shipping, it would cost a lot of money. But sending it book rate is cheaper. So And one thing I like about these knives right here, I held it down there. Yeah, I rarely even carry it with me anymore. Although I would prefer to carry this one because I could. It's a seatbelt cutter, window breaker, and then of course the blade. And there's a piece of peanut shell in it. Yes, peanuts. Remember, I lived in the South for 40 years. I like peanuts. On Okinawa, they had a kind of tofu made out of peanuts. I don't know if it was a mix of peanuts and soybean, or if it was all peanut. But I cannot find a recipe for it anywhere. And maybe I'm getting some of the information mixed up, but I would like to make my own tofu. I have a tofu mold, so the mold's only big enough to make one little rectangle of tofu though. But that's okay, but I'd like to learn to do that. And yes, maybe become a vegetarian, or even vegan. But sometimes I get sick when I just the thought of eating meat, this makes me sick. Now it has that right there. I'm not sure what that is. Is that a bottle opener maybe? It's one of my hairs. I've had this for years. So, I don't know, I'm just making a video.